Hey, welcome back, Crime Think Tank family. I hope that you all are doing well, despite the latest events that happened on July the 13th, 2024, with the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Also, the unfortunately and just sickening demise and unaliving of one of the rally attendees, as well as the other two attendees that, as far as we know, they are in critical condition in a hospital, allegedly. So we are only sharing information that has been released, of course, by the news media, as well as what they've received from the law enforcement agencies that are involved. Um, I was just totally upset yesterday, just undone. And it's not specifically because of it was former President Trump. It is the disgust and it is the sadness and it is the diabolical actions of us as humans. It is so sad to see that there is such a decline in humanity and the value of human life. It has nothing to do with Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or any other ethnicity. It has to do with how there is such a low value on human life, that because we do not have a check on emotions, some of us, we have poor impulse control. Some of us don't have critical thinking skills. Some of us don't have stabilized conflict resolution skills that we should all be applying. There is no reason why we should be ready to take such drastic, deadly, sickening actions because we cannot agree to disagree. Come on, it's really serious here. We should be able to disagree in a healthy, concise, and respectful manner. We're not all going to have the same understanding. We're not going to all have the same thought process. And we shouldn't. That would make the world a very dull place. So even if this was an attempt on our President Biden's life or Vice President Harris's life or any other representative or Supreme Court member or any local municipality representative, we should be upset because we see the decline of humanity. So today we're going to follow up with some updates on the shooter. As you see here on the page, we've determined that his name is Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old. You all, this is just totally mind-blowing. This young man is 20 years old. Just think about this. He just graduated in 2022 from high school. And we have to contemplate what would make him have these ideals and this mindset to go and do something so drastic and so tragic as this. And let's all understand, we may not have been impacted directly, but rest assured, Crime Think Tank, we have been impacted indirectly. But we must first keep the former President Trump, his family, the family that lost their loved one. And it is alleged that the man that lost his life through this terrible act, it is alleged that his family was there in the stands with him. And the other two victims who are fighting for their life as we speak, their family was there. It was babies there. There were children there. So we are all impacted in this, and we must come together in unity. We must pray. It was only the grace of Most High. in heaven that I'm talking about. Only the grace of Yeshua Jesus that the other two individuals did not lose their life. We are so saddened by the gentleman that did lose his life. And we are so saddened that President Trump was struck by a bullet that could have taken his life. I'm quite sure this gentleman who arrived at that rally in a vertical position never thought that he would leave there in a horizontal position in a body bag. Think about it. That could have been any of us attending an event that we chose to attend because that's the one who we chose to support, which is our prerogative. No matter what party you in, who cares about Democrat? Who cares about Republican? Who cares about liberalism? Who cares about conservatism or independence or the independent party? That's irrelevant. What about the human life? So we're going to get started here. And it's sad. And even about this young man's family, they are impacted. We don't know the history behind it. We don't know that they were the ones that influenced him to do this ugly, just wicked deed. But what if they didn't? We need to be prayerful. We need to turn the hearts of man. You know what? You serve who you desire to serve. This is my opinion, that the hearts of man must be turned back to the one true and living God. That's God in heaven through Jesus, our Messiah. So I'm asking us to have speculative insight or investigative insights, but remember, the facts never trump the speculative investigative insights never trump the facts here. We are not biased. We are absolutely impartial. And I encourage you, and I'm strongly sharing with you, please do not get into the comments with nasty, dirty comments. Be respectful to one another. Share your thoughts, share your truth, because that's what we are saying here. But be respectful. So we're going to first hear from President Biden, as he's going to give his statement after the incident. Then we're going to hear from former President Trump, his statement on today, and then we'll hear his statement from yesterday. And then we'll go ahead and also share the GoFundMe that President Trump set up for the family members that lost their loved one and the family members that are involved in the family that is still, fighting for their life. And then we'll go from there. So like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more updates on this story. And we're also going to hear from an alleged classmate of Mr. Thomas Matthew Crooks. Let's go.
I've been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And so, and I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have engaged in making sure that people who, and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is, the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. So far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think there's
President Biden was absolutely right. There is no place for political violence. It's not that this country is, absent of political violence, because we know in 1912, President Roosevelt, he was attacked, with a gun. And what saved him, I believe, was his eyeglass case, and his speech that he was getting ready to go and share. But he went ahead and shared that even though he was wounded. And then we move on. Look, there are so many other leaders. We have President Kennedy in 1963. We have Robert F. Kennedy in 1968, and Martin Luther King in 1968. And then Governor, I believe, George Wallace in 1972. So it's not, and then we can also see Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan. I believe that was in 1980 or 1982. So I mean, this has happened, but there is no room for this. I'm so thankful that President Biden came out and denounced this wicked act. And all this dividing, it's almost like we're the Hatfields and the McCoys. It's really ridiculous that this is actually going on in this day and time, that we cannot agree to disagree as, members of the human race. So we're going to go ahead and look at what President Trump said on today in his statement, and then and I'm going to read it, and then we're going to read what he said yesterday after this event. So this is President Trump's. I'm going to have it pull back up here just a minute. I'm going to make it wider. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is Truth Social, President Trump's social media site. He says, and this is today. He says, thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers yesterday, as it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness. Our love goes out to the other victims and their families. We pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold in our hearts the memory of the citizen who was so horribly unalived. In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans. And I'm going to say as the human race, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win. President Trump goes on to say, I truly love our country and love you all and look forward to speaking to our great nation this week from Wisconsin. Because we all know that President Trump is the conservative nominee, and there will be the convention, actually, I believe, starting tomorrow, which is the 15th of July. And so we're going to also look at what he said here on yesterday after this event. And I love that President Trump, he's not boasting, he's giving all glory and honor to God. And that's what we have to do. He's acknowledging the Lord, that it was only him. It's not in man's power. We can't save ourselves, no matter how invincible or how strong we believe that we are. So I'm so grateful that he demonstrated humility in his expressions and how he shared his compassion and his prayers and his thoughts of his family that are going out. And, you know, he's not focusing on himself. He's focusing on this family that lost their loved one and the other family whose family members are now fighting for their lives. This is so important for us to really grasp. It's not about race. We really got to get past this. It's not about ethnicity. It's about the human race. This is what my issue is with a lot of what's going on in this world today. And I know that it's absolutely diabolical. It's absolutely demonic, that what's really happening. Whether I know you all may not agree with that, and that's okay. Again, it's okay to disagree. We agree to disagree, and it's okay. So President Trump said on yesterday, I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter. Well, actually, we do have updates, but I'm just going to, read what he said. Who is now dead? He said, I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. He said much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. He ends with, God bless America. So again, he extended his condolences, and that's what I encourage us to do. Let's have a heart of compassion. Let's extend our condolences to the gentleman that was unalive, to the other two individuals that are wounded very badly, critically, and to former President Trump, as well as to this family of the shooter. I can't believe that all of them are involved in this, or maybe none of them, but we still should extend our condolences to them and our prayers to everyone. We all need each other, y'all. So we're going to go to the GoFundMe that President Trump created. My family, my husband and I donated, and I just want to show you all, because I know sometimes on these channels we'll ask others to donate to something that we're not doing, and I'm not a person of lying. I'm a person of integrity. So I'm also going to share with you, what we donated as a family to this fund, because I think it's only right to do so. And that of course, if you don't have it, that's understandable. Nobody's trying to provoke you or try to intimidate you into giving. And remember, every little bit helps. So as you see here, President Trump created a GoFundMe. It says support Butler PA victims. President Trump authorized. And at the bottom, you can see my name here. It says Selena Stubbs. And on behalf of my husband, Michael Stubbs, and our daughter, Krenda, that we donated $30. So if you have it, we encourage you. But if you don't, remember, it's value in your prayers. That is a commodity. Okay, it is wonderful. If you pray, and if you don't believe in prayers, send your thoughts, to everyone that is impacted, because they were impacted directly and others are impacted indirectly. And I believe we all, at some level or degree, were impacted indirectly. So now we're going to get a little bit more information on Mr. Thomas Matthew Crooks. And I'm devastated that a 20-year-old would go this far or take these lengths. You think about what was in his mind. Where did he get his ideals from? Was he intimidated? Was he scared? Was he, was he just radical to believe that if President Trump, regained the presidential office, that everything that was being shared, back and forth. And you know what? I absolutely hold accountable all the parties that are involved and the media. They are absolutely, everybody's responsible for saying all of these things about each other instead of sticking to the political points, sticking to inflation, sticking to high gas prices, sticking to food deserts, sticking to high food prices, sticking to the border issues, instead of making this a war and an assault on each other's. And it's an assault. It was not meant about each other from all parties, the Independent Party, the Republican Party, and the Liberal Party. We call an ace a ace here and a spade a spade. And then when we get the citizens, the community, all different, personalities and emotional, our emotions involved in these things, instead of being able to think critically to what is being shared and saying, nope, I delete that. Nope, that's not for me. I'm going to stick to the issues. We do not vote people. We vote policy and we vote our self-interest, beloveds. We got to get out of that. We got to stop being focused on the person and their personality. Yes, is President Trump bombastic? Is he polarizing? Is he just radical when he gives some rhetoric? Yes. Is Biden the same way? He is that polarizing. He shares rhetoric. He can be bombastic. It goes back and forth, and they both lie. All the parties are lying to a degree to get people to follow them. We have to really start to think critically about this and stop attacking each other, because it's useless and it doesn't make any sense, and it's not resolving anything, and we're not moving forward in progression. We are actually imploding from the inside out. So let's go ahead and look at some information. This is allegedly a classmate of Mr. Crooks, and they'll go into a little bit more details too about the area that he grew up in and other information such as that.
As we've been here, there's a large media presence here. You've had members of the community come and approach us, including one person who said he actually went to high school with this suspected shooter. I want you to listen to a little bit of our conversation there.
He was bullied almost every day.
In what way? Can you explain?
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays. So they're gonna see someone like that and they're gonna target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
Yeah. You said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was just...
This is sad. Did you hear what he shared? It's not an excuse. It's absolutely not an excuse for what he did. But you heard what he said. He was a loner. He was an outcast. He was picked on. He was bullied, he said. And did he take this opportunity so that he could become famous because he felt like he was unseen? That's what I want us to get in the comments and share our thoughts. Again, it doesn't make it right. But we don't know people's mindset. We don't know that, if a person has a breaking point, but we know that we all do. We don't know what each other's breaking point is. This is sad. And this is a young man saying that. And I'm actually surprised that he said that.
He was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied so much.
This was high school.
Yeah.
What did do you remember at all what they said to him or called him?
No. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his appearance.
That's what he was saying. He said that he was actually in the class before or behind the suspected shooter here. And we have some movement here where you hear an ambulance or a car horn. Excuse that background noise. But one thing.
And actually, I believe that the reporter here, it says where he lived, which is in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, but where the actual assassination attempt and unaliving and the critical wounding, it actually was an hour away. And I learned that it was actually in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the location was the Butler Farms Showhouse. That's where this rally was being held. So this reporter is actually speaking from the neighborhood of where Thomas Crooks grew up, where he resided. Let's continue.
Thing that we also heard from that conversation is that when we asked what he was bullied for, what this shooter was bullied for, he pointed to his clothing. Apparently, according to this person who says he was a classmate, the shooter would wear military style clothes or hunting clothes regularly as he was at school. So we're still learning a lot more. We can tell you investigators continue to go in and out of the scene here. We know multiple agencies are here, not just local police, but the county bomb squad. As I mentioned last night, I saw the ATF here. It's a calm scene. It's not completely evacuated. Many residents are still in their homes behind here, but you can tell.
As you saw there, the picture that was placed up there, it was actually an image of the shooter after I believe it was either Secret Service. They they neutralized him. That's the word that they used. So he was neutralized, and you could see him lying there. This is so sad.
This is definitely a focal point of this investigation as we learn more about this suspected shooter who, again, from what we know and from public records, does not have a criminal history, not a large social media presence. So there's a lot more information that folks are looking to learn, Tom.
And it's also important to note that they did determine his identity. He did not have identification on him, but that they said in the documentation that they were able to identify him through other biometric tools that they use. It was also noted that, of course, as the reporter stated, that he did not have a record. And he also was very, I guess he seemed, as you can look at him, he was almost very unassuming. And it was also stated allegedly that he was registered as a Republican, and that he also gave about, I believe it was a $15 donation to the some Democratic group that is associated with the Democratic Party. So let's go ahead and continue. Here's the video of the actual attempt.
Let me bring back Ryan Riley. They were able to put this ID out fairly quickly at the press conference. They said they wanted to make 100% sure. They talked about potentially running some DNA, but now they have confirmed it. You can say that with certainty, yes?
Yes, that's right. Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, has been formally identified by the FBI as the suspected person who attempted an assassination on former President Donald Trump just hours ago. So now the FBI has put that name out there. But I think the big question is how the FBI is going to continue to put out information about this assassination attempt, and how that interaction is going to work between the FBI and the Secret Service, because really this is kind of almost a look at what went wrong with the Secret Service's protection detail here. And with the
So you heard the gentleman say that that they were able to identify him through DNA, and then also there is some question about how he was able to get that close to the former president. And it was also stated that it was about 200 to 300 feet away. And in some video footage, you're going to see the sharpshooters or snipers. You're going to see them up on the building directly adjacent to the stage. But when you look at more footage, you'll actually see that the shooter was in a direct, had a direct line of sight to the stage. And so there's going to be some question and some more investigation, of course, by the Secret Service that are heading up this incident. And also there's a local law enforcement that's involved in the FBI.
Failures that sort of went into this. And I think, you might end up with a situation where an inspector general gets involved in this investigation as well. And obviously Congress is going to be super interested, especially, on House Republicans, and I think Democrats as well, obviously, with the failures that are pretty clear here in terms of that sweeping of that roof, making sure that the roof that was that close to where Donald Trump was speaking and had that elevated position and was only really a couple football fields away, not even from where he was speaking, did not have coverage at that point.
So here's the actual diagram or image. As we can see, it's showing the Butler Farm Show where the yellow box is, and then you see the approximate area stage where former President Trump was actually shot. And then underneath here, you see in yellow with the arrow going to the left, the location of the suspected gunman's body where he was lying. So you can see there was a direct line of sight, but also if you look up to the top, those like 3 buildings right there, this is where the snipers were located. So it does appear that maybe they were looking outward, and we don't know. Of course, after the investigation, then they're going to share, the full complete details of, the investigation. But it does look like they were looking out the opposite way. They weren't aimed at this way. And someone actually stated allegedly that the building that the shooter was on, it had a slant. So almost they really couldn't possibly see him, the snipers, until they actually were able to, turn and then aim. But of course, this is allegedly.
And what went wrong, how they can fix this, and how they can prevent this from happening in the future. But you could end up with situations where you just aren't seeing those sort of rallies, or at least there are different places where there's not a strategic advantage for someone to be that far away, because this was inches away really from a really different outcome here, Chris.
A catastrophic outcome, without a doubt. Ryan, talk a little bit more, and you touched on this, but assuming there is a digital footprint, and it's very, very rare to find someone these days who doesn't have one, the kinds of things they'll be looking for and may be able to find through it?
What's actually kind of remarkable is that we've seen this unfortunate circumstance where people will try to do these fakes of suggest that someone else who actually isn't that person is that person, right? So there's all these attempts to try to trick and fool reporters, and that's sort of what we're working through right now. There's been a number of Instagram handles, for example, that were changed to this name because that name had been out there on social media before the FBI formally confirmed it. And so people trying to trick reporters and say, oh, this was this person. There was one image of one prominent individual who's sort of a right-wing extremist that was being floated out there and saying, oh, here's this footage. People would put that image in other people's social media profiles. So it requires a lot of work on the back end on our reporting and making sure we're being thorough about this before we put it out there. And this is something that you have to be really careful about. And unfortunately, in the world we're living in today, there's a lot of people trying to put out bad information. So we really have to make sure this is vetted before we put it out to the public, which is sometimes why we sort of take a pause on this reporting and make sure that we're getting things out there and we're not putting misinformation out there to the general.
Absolutely. It's really important that correct information is released to the public, and that we who have these channels or social media accounts, that we share accurate information as much as possible, because this can interfere with the investigation. And this is going to be a long investigation. But as we end this, I just extend my condolences to former President Trump, to his family that lost a loved one, and to the family members of the 2 people that were critically injured. So as we end this, share your thoughts, share your insights, and stay safe. Shalom, beloveds.